Chapter 2.
I'm Eric Cargill.
And I'm Rachel Elnar, and this is Cheers and Tears.
Design Leadership Tales Retold.
Hey, Eric, our first guest leads design practice for a major tech corporation's chief data office. This visionary oversees teams focused on AI-first data transformation. Previously, he founded an award-winning consultancy for chronic disease product experiences. He serves as faculty at Parsons School of Design and Art Center College of Design and is a former AIGA chapter president. Welcome, Seth Johnson, design director at IBM.
Hey, Rachel. Hi, Eric.
Our second guest drives enterprise strategy, design ops, and business transformation. After serving as design leader for IBM's business process transformation team, she recently joined General Motors to transform their digital enterprise operations. At IBM, she built a 450-plus member design ops community, published IBM's first design ops playbook, and established design ops as an officially recognized role. Like Seth, she has held multiple leadership positions within AIGA. Welcome, Global Design Lead Producer for Craft and Interface at General Motors, Jenny Price. Welcome.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Welcome to both of you.
And Jenny, congratulations on the new position.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
fantastic.
So happy for you.
you. I'm so excited. Yes. Thank you so much.
Let's talk a little bit about AIGA leadership. I'm sure you guys remember. Seth and Jenny, maybe tell us a little bit about the years, the chapters, the roles. How did you get into leadership?
Good question. Again, thanks for having me. Super happy to be here with Seth as our dynamic duo session. So really honored to be a part of this series. So thank you. All right. I had the opportunity to start my college student group, served as co-president during my undergrad program. After grad school, I then moved to Minneapolis. I began to research local design leaders, and Doug Powell's name popped up as part of my search. I was very new to that city, wanted to get involved locally with the design community and meet fabulous people and designers within the community. So I cold emailed Doug Powell, 2009-ish, I believe, and asked if he'd meet me for coffee, and he said yes. So, as part of that conversation, he encouraged me to get involved with the local AIGA Minnesota chapter. And it was really just as simple as that. I started attending local events. I believe one of the first ones I attended was with Debbie Millman, James Victore, and
I remember that event. It
Yeah.
was at the W Hotel.
Yes. And
Yeah.
Seth, I don't think we even had met yet then.
No, I don't think we had.
Quite yet.
But
I was,
funny that we were both there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember them sitting on two chairs, elevated up. He was
Mhm.
kind of promoting one of his books at the time.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, I was starting to attend Pivot and Gain, numerous national conferences. And then this is sort of the life-changing moment that I know, Seth, you can speak to too, is back in 2010, I attended the GAIN conference at the Times Square Sheraton in New York City, and I was invited to a Midwest meetup for a meet and greet with other Midwest attendees. And at that very dinner is where Doug introduced me to Seth. And the rest was really history in terms of my relationship and getting to know Seth and building that foundational moment from there was really remarkable for me. And now, Seth, you can tell a bit more about that story too, but I don't know if you want me to keep going, or is this where we are opening the
What would
conversation?
Rachel and Eric?
Yeah, so let's also maybe if we can hear a little bit about also your roles within leadership.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Then we'll move on.
Yeah.
All right. So shortly after that moment, I began to peruse the AIG Minnesota site to see what open board positions were posted at the time. And I was teaching at the college level design. And so there was a co-director of education position, which caught my eye. I really looked at that description and thought, wow, okay, I think I can do this. let me put my hat into the ring. I really was very, just sort of getting a lay of the land in terms of being new to town and all of that. And just, the fact that I didn't really know anybody at the time. So I basically, kind of leaned into that and interviewed for that particular position. I was then um, voted in to serve in that role on the board. At the same time, I then attended my first leadership retreat, which was happening to be in Minneapolis at that time. So, my very first board position, very new to the board, taking it all in within the retreat in that moment. We can talk about stories as well on that front. But certainly another pivotal memory and set of moments that I have with regards to that experience. From there, I served as, again, there was a lot of time that passed, obviously, work that happened along the way, but served as vice president in working with Jenny Smith Hinshaw. We bonded at that first retreat, and that also is a whole nother set of stories, but amazing, talented design leader, listener, advocate for the chapter. So her and I partnered up, did a number of things during that 2-year term. From there, I served as chapter president in working with Katrine Loss as vice president. Again, another set of an amazing experiences that I'm happy to talk about more in terms of what we undertook, our relationship and partnership with IBM and EDT, and upskilling the practice of design thinking at that time, of submitting for innovation grants, and then co-founding the Emerge program at the national level, all kind of done during that set of our term with the board collectively, and a mass amount of volunteers. From there, I served as President's Council Chair and had the opportunity to co-host, develop, work with national staff, many people, including Nick Prestaleo, Lauren Schultz, Corey Straussman, brought in and worked with Gage Mitchell as co-chair of both the Dallas and the Baltimore retreats. And I can pause there, but
Yeah.
again, a really
Yes.
beautiful.
I mean, it's
Where do I stop?
yeah, no, it's just incredible how
I'm tired.
all of that is just
So
integrated.
much work.
I love it. I love it.
All right. So, Seth, how did you get into AIJ leadership?
It's a surprisingly similar story to Jenny's. But maybe offset by a few years. I was sort of new-ish to living in Minneapolis after having been in Los Angeles for a few years, and working at a small design firm in Minneapolis, Wojcik Design, founded by Dan Wojcik. And Dan had an office mate in South Minneapolis, and his office mate was Doug Powell. They had been old friends, having served on the chapter board, 10, 15 years prior. And so I just sort of got to know this other guy that was, in our office every day. And I was talking to both of them, sort of on a Tuesday afternoon, and saying, "Gosh, I'd like to get a little more involved, here in this place." And they both immediately recommended 2 organizations I should get involved in. One called Art Buddies, founded by an AIGA fellow, Sue Krolik, a dear friend of mine. And the other, they said, you should just start volunteering for AIGA. And I am happy to say that I took their advice and started off and running, tale as old as time with this, right? I started volunteering. I started serving on a committee. I then was asked and had an opportunity to be a co-chair of the committee with Colleen Pittner, another AIGA fellow, dear friend of mine, co-director of education. You can see the similarities here, Jenny. I was the co-director of education for a while. I was then had the opportunity to win the confidence of our board and our chapter, and was privileged to serve as our chapter president for 2 years. Served on the chapter advisory council for several years after that. I think I was the AIGA Minnesota treasurer for a stint. I had my own business, and so I knew a thing or two about bookkeeping. So I did that for a while. And really, like many other folks that we know, dear friends, I owe so much of my career and beyond to this organization and the people that I've been fortunate enough to meet and learn from, and from the opportunities and the skills that I've been able to take away from the community.
That's amazing. I might do an edit with you side by side, and you guys both start with Doug Powell, and then it just kind of goes from there.
All roads
I
lead
might.
to or from or through Doug Powell.
That's quite amazing. I didn't know he was such a connector. And of course, you interfaced with him after that. So tell me about your
Yeah.
leadership together. How did you work together?
We met just about 6 blocks from where I'm sitting at the game conference in 2010. Doug introduced us, and I remember that night very vividly in my mind. I remember not only meeting Jenny and feeling just sort of an immediate connection. There are a few people I think that we have in our lives where you can remember the moment you met them and remember feeling, at least I feel this way, I'm going to be really good friends with this person. I remember that. And then I remember later that evening, talking briefly with Doug. I was the chapter president at the time. And I remember Doug saying to me, keep your eye on that Jenny Price. She's going to be a good person to know. And she's going to do really good things for our design community. And from that moment on, he was right. Jenny and I, worked with each other so closely on so many things on the board. Uh, uh, me handing off, Colleen and I handing off the education committee to you. Then you serving as vice president after I was done being president. We, just sort of went together like hand in glove, and still do.
You still do. You guys have worked together outside of AIGA for a number of years as well, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, yeah, it's been a remarkable set of, I don't want to say patterns, but I feel like, just the alignment of the stars to bring
Yeah.
us together in this way over, nearly 15 years of our lives has been remarkable. And, just how the opportunities to continue to learn from, just how well organized, Seth, you are, and how you really set up others for success and
Well, thank you.
leave things better than when you found them. And I think that that's one trait that I I certainly know very well, just even from the various roles and the way that, you set forth and nurtured our chapter in terms of AIJ Minnesota. And then even, yeah, the opportunity, at the moment in time where I was looking to do a career pivot, I, was reaching out to fellow people in my inner circle to say, I'm looking for opportunities. If there's something that comes across your desk that may be a good fit, please consider me. And so Seth, kind of knocked on my door to say, Jenny, there might be a couple opportunities that I think you should check out. And
Mhm.
that kind of led me to a lot of conversations slash interviews in terms of making my way to joining IBM and really starting this new role and practice of design ops at the company, which
Mhm.
was certainly a daunting task, and it's something that I'm always been drawn to, and I think that that's part of like the trajectory of my career, my own patterns that I've noticed in terms of taking things on that are certainly much larger than myself and is going to take, a group to collectively make something possible. And I feel like that's been something I've
Mm.
learned tremendously and seen time and time again through my AIGA experiences and the number of people that I've worked with across the chapters within our own chapter and at the national level and all and well beyond. Just seeing that time and time again has been just fascinating and most, I think, memorable as well as impacting in terms of continuing to want to push forward to see and navigate how we can continue to do really good work and also build that culture and community, whatever that culture and community might be. And there's always room for improvement. And I recognize that, and growth opportunities. I think that's where like those aha moments and those challenges have been something that have stuck with me, that I try to carry forward in my personal and professional life. Hopefully I answered your question there.
Wow.
Absolutely, you did.
I kind of just
Absolutely.
went off a tangent a little bit.
No, it's great. It's great. Please feel free to just, lay it all out there.
Yeah. One other quick moment that brings Doug Powell back again into the fold is like, so I was brought into this new role and team. The team existed obviously within IBM CHQ, and I remember Doug Powell, after I was maybe a couple months into the position, he was
And Doug was at IBM at the
at the
time.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was a VP of the design program office at the time, and he approached me saying, "Jenny, would you be interested to help spearhead and develop the
Mhm.
design ops community at IBM?" And I said, and he said, "Jenny, it's pretty much as though the all of the work that you've done at AIGA and all of the programs that you've led and how you brought people together." He's like, "It's essentially the same thing." Because I was like, "Whoa, I'm new to IBM. I am not certain what you're asking me here," but I said yes. I did say yes. It's like, "Yes, I'll do it. I will do it." And we started with a small but mighty team of about 5 people. I really didn't know any, they were not directly on my team, but I sought out people who were practicing some form of design ops and began to grow that community from a very small number, not knowing what exactly we were signing up for. And very similar patterns, I think, to what we've done and accomplished over all of the multitude of programs and inner workings of AIGA. And so it was a similar set of practices, I think, that kind of came naturally. And Doug saw that
Mhm.
in terms of asking me to step into that and to do it and kind of ultimately see that this is a legacy thing that's going to live on well beyond my time at IBM. And I'm just a small portion of IBM's history in general, given it's a 100-plus-year-old company, similar to AIGA, 100-plus-year-old organization. So like having those moments and to be able to see the change that can be made, whether it is in a volunteer front, us working countless hours at nights, weekends, beyond our day jobs. There's a similar pattern, I would say, with regards to the ask for the IBM Design Ops community, because it was also
Mhm.
volunteers above and beyond our day jobs. And so I was interfacing with people across all lines of business, across all aspects of the company, to really help to define and articulate the point of view of what design ops is uh, and why it matters at IBM. And we did that in so many cool ways. And I am so, as like certainly a career highlight in terms of the knowledge and expertise that I gained from AIGA, and then to be able to apply that into another
Mhm.
area of my life and professional experience as well is like magical.
Wow, that's a lot.
I can't specifically remember when this was, but there was a design ops thing that it was online that I was a part of that you were on. I don't know if you remember this, but you chimed in and said hello, and I was just like, oh, this is great. And so, I mean, that meant a lot to me because design ops was so new, and I was new to it, and what you brought to it was invaluable. And so, I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so Doug Powell, he connected you to, he's a soothsayer. He obviously knows the future. He also brought you back together at IBM. Seth, can you talk a little
Sure.
bit about your leadership role at IBM?
Yeah, I've been at IBM for about 11 years now and gone through quite a bit of change in the company, but also my own career during that time. Um, uh, I started at IBM relatively early on in IBM's now somewhat storied design transformation, probably about a year after uh, IBM began uh, reinvesting in design at quite a serious commitment. Um, and my first several years at IBM were really focused around getting non-designers to collaborate with, to accept onto their teams, and to see the value in having designers as part of their existent organizations. And that was fascinating for me. It was something that I could have never predicted that I was going to be a part of that. Um, and uh, and AIGA unwittingly to me, really, as similar to Jenny, really set me up to be able to do that work. Um, a few things in particular that I think that reflecting back on my AIGA service, that I've that were it not for AIGA, I don't think I would have been able to be here. The first is that AIGA taught me how to make things that scale. It's not about simply doing one event one time and then you pack it up and you're done. It's about, oh, how can we do this repeatedly? We did one event, maybe we'll do another one. Let's make a few tweaks. Let's learn from it. Let's do it again and again and again. And so much of what AIGA leadership retreats were about, at least for me, were about learning from other chapters how they are doing things and then applying those new practices to what we're doing, or teaching what we're doing to other chapters. And that's another way to scale your impact. So this thing that maybe we started in the Minnesota chapter is now being done, a year, 2, 3 years later by dozens of other chapters in similar forms or fashion. And that's really important when you start working in a large organization, that you have to operate at a level of scale. And I learned how to do that primarily through my AIGA service. The other thing that AIGA taught me that was integral to me being at all successful at a company like IBM is to understand how organizations actually work and function, and how organizations sustain themselves, and how organizations, good organizations at least, iterate upon themselves in order to sustain themselves. Jenny mentioned a few minutes ago, AIGA and IBM share a few things that make them similar. One of them is that they're both really old organizations. They've been around for a long time. Well, typically, organizations that have been around for a really long time have reinvented themselves several times along the way. IBM doesn't make cheese slicers or punch cards anymore. We now do hybrid cloud and AI. And so understanding how organizations actually respond to the moment and change and morph, is something that I learned, um, uh, as an AIGA chapter president, primarily. Um, to build something that actually endures, beyond oneself, or something that exists sustainably once you are no longer there, is something that's absolutely needed when you're talking about large organizations. And it's something that my AIGA service set me up really well to know how to do when I was tasked with, helping bring designers and design thinking sustainably, globally, to mostly software product teams that had products in market, and had been going along, in some cases for decades, without designers. And now a new element is being introduced into the mix.
That's quite interesting that both IBM and AIGA have been around for the longest time, and you've also had the same learnings, the same lessons from both.
Yeah, I mean, Jenny, I'd love to hear your point of view on this, but I absolutely think that my work with AIGA, was essential to me being effective at IBM. First of all, I don't think I would have gotten a job at IBM were it not for AIGA and the connections that I was able to exploit because of that, and the opportunities that were able to present themselves. And I even remember interviewing for IBM and talking about and showing evidence of my ability to make things that scale and my ability to inspire others into service. uh, I had evidence that I could do that because of AIGA. But as I said earlier, once I got there and I was confronted with these really big, intimidating problems, go figure out how to, introduce these 30 new designers to this 800-person software product team that has never worked with designers before. Okay. I found myself time and time and time again thinking, well, this isn't actually so dissimilar than something that we maybe had to do with AIGA.
I agree. I think it's very, very true. I would say even the position that I came into was my head of design at the time said, Jenny, you need to define your role. You need to define what's important. You need to understand. So I had to I did a lot of interviewing of everybody across the team, people that our team was collaborating with, to really get an understanding of what the as is state is and where they want to take it. And it was very similar patterns, I think, in terms of understanding what our design community needs, whether it's at a local level or a national level. It was very much me going in to investigate and understand what the needs are of the team that I'm joining, the organization, the business that I'm working with, and how I can then really make an impact collectively in working with the people that I was partnering with and needing to collaborate with to make change in the new team that I was a part of. So I was using some of that experience or expertise that I had gained from having to build and construct things again at scale and figuring how to make it sustainable and or um, be able to maintain it, and then also to show the impact and the value that we're bringing to whomever that might be.
Wondering, are you good for another 15 minutes? Because we need to still dive into the leadership retreat.
We can go for as long as we need to.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that we haven't gotten to that I'd love to get to.
I know.
Yeah, so let's keep going.
There's an aspect of community here that's overarching, AIGA connection, and their leadership retreats, and there's a lot of things that we learned at those retreats, but there was also the social aspects of that. What are some of the after program things that you guys can think of that stand out in your mind as either very inspirational or even just nutty?
Betty.
Or do you remember anything?
Yeah,
That's
that's a loaded question.
it's a loaded question, and I didn't have the healthiest relationship with alcohol for quite a while, and in sort of preparing to have this conversation, I just kept coming back in my mind about like, man, I don't know how we drank so much. I mean, like, that was not healthy. We sure had fun. At least I sure had fun. But man, there was a lot of drinking going on.
There is a lot of drinking. I'm so sorry, but I remember like
I don't know how, like, I honestly don't know how we did it. And then you get back, and then you have to get up in the morning and then like go do stuff.
Brian Singer's like, I don't know. I don't remember. Like he didn't remember almost any of them or which one came in when or what scenario was it. Like we were drinking a lot.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm proud of it. Some things really stand out to me. Program that others on this amazing podcast have talked about, AIGA, which I believe Josh Silverman either started it or certainly introduced me to it. And I remember going to that first one. I don't remember exactly where it was, and really feeling a sense of belonging that, man, if this is an organization where sort of in the after hours, there's this tradition, and it's not just gay people who are doing it or going there. Sign me up. That really made me feel like I'd found some place where I could be myself. Jenny, you must remember the VP couch.
Ooh, what's the VP
Yes.
couch?
What's the
Yeah.
VP couch?
I think it
Do we know
was,
how
I
that
have,
started? The VP, right? Vice President couch.
I thought, didn't Jen Soik start that?
I
Or,
think Jen Soik, who was vice president when I was president of the Minnesota chapter, amazing Jen Soik. I think Jen Soik and maybe Karen Koricki from Jacksonville started that. And if I remember
Mhm.
correctly, the idea was uh, being the vice president of a chapter is a really tough job. Um, being president of the chapter is a really tough job too. But the VP oftentimes like they sort of get everything that doesn't fall to any other named board member. Uh, and I remember Jen and Karen thinking, all right, let's gather the VPs together. The presidents get to go to the fancy dinner at the beginning of the leadership retreat with all the other presidents and Rick. And I think Jen and Karen were like, you know what? We're going to GSD. We're going to get the vice presidents together, like on these couches in this lobby. And we're just going to talk with each other and be together with our fellow VPs. And I think that endured for quite a while.
Oh, wow.
I do remember being, I think it was on the Salt Lake City, it was a Salt Lake City retreat.
Mm-hmm.
I was on that VP couch, and you basically had to go find the VPs and bring them together on this couch. It was like an impromptu moment. Again, there were usually
Yeah.
always impromptu moments, and those are some of my favorite moments, where, you might not know everybody, but that's sort of the icebreaker to get to know everybody and, begin to exchange notes, stories, ideas, what's working, what's not, like, and then some. So that moment, I will say also at that hotel, it was like
That was a nice hotel.
marble everywhere. But I remember at the check-in, I wish I had the photo. The check-in, they had a profile of who we were, who AIGA people were. And it said they like to stay up late, they like to dance, they like to drink, and they eat a lot of food or something. It had a whole list, and like it was right
Right.
there, and I could see it.
Yeah, like
And
guilty
I
as
wanted
charged.
to take a photo, and I was like, this is what they think of us. And I
Hey,
remember
we
they
do a
had
lot of
very
human
fancy,
pyramids.
yes, and they had very fancy security in like head to toe suits with like earpieces because it was it was marble everywhere in that hotel. It was like made for the Olympics, I think. So we were at a
That's
very
right, wasn't it?
prestigious hotel. And I'll never forget that profile of what AIGA
That's hilarious.
attendees are.
Wow.
Oh,
Like,
that
be on the lookout for these ruffians.
What a way to welcome in designers and have a full UX profile drawn up for the
Yeah.
the group that's coming in. I love it.
Right. Yeah, for like your
I love
security
it.
staff.
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. And I remember we had
Yeah.
to keep moving rooms there, and I think that's when Nick Prostoleo was in like a squirrel costume. Is that when he would wear? He wore that
That sounds about right.
somewhere. And he was,
Yeah.
I feel like it was there. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong on the location, but he wore that outfit. There was like a period where he would bring different costumes, like mascots of sorts.
See, I don't remember that, but that sounds exactly like something that Nick would do, which is one of the many reasons why we love him. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know that for quite a while, human pyramids were a big thing, and I remember, and Mike Josie just was such a grouch about them, and which was endearing. And I don't know this to be fact, but I think that the world has that Minnesota chapter to blame for human pyramids. I think they were started by Lauren Langfit of AIGA Minnesota. And
That's
I
true.
remember my first retreat was 2009 in Portland, and Lauren couldn't go. And I was offered the opportunity to go in her stead. And she was bummed that she couldn't go. And I remember her telling me ahead of time, she sort of sat me down and was like, okay, here's what you're going to expect. I need to prep you. And thank goodness she did. And she, told me lots of things, and she made this diagram, like she illustrated it in Adobe, this diagram of how to safely do human pyramids. And she's like, print this out, make lots of copies. She said, because everyone's going to expect you from Minnesota to lead people in human pyramids, and we don't want anyone getting hurt. And I didn't know what I was getting into. I was naive, and I was like, oh, okay. And so I showed up, and sure enough, lots of people were like, oh, okay, well, you must be, all right, where are we doing the pyramid? And I'm about the most inathletic person in the world. I had never done a human pyramid before. So I was like, well, maybe I don't know, do it there. I've got this diagram.
I
So
remember
I
you
think,
showed me the diagram. You showed me that diagram.
I don't
remember.
know if I have the diagram, but I do. In fact, I should have, I'll find this. It was maybe the next year. We drew a diagram. It was like a seating chart of how we were going to make like a 6-stacker, like 6 levels. And so it required a bit of planning. And we drew it, Vera Crissette and I drew it out on a napkin, and it's got a bunch of names crossed out and a bunch of new names because we were thinking, no, if he's going to be there, then she has to be here. Da, 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 da. And I still have that napkin someplace. And I think we did accomplish it. And I think Carolyn Collina was on top. She was a great topper.
Oh yeah.
She was fearless, and she had the size for it.
Yes.
And I
she's
remember one of
tiny.
the things was we had to be quick because we were usually going to be like told otherwise not to do it, depending on where we were.
Yeah, we were going to
doing it.
shut down. Yeah.
Yeah. So it always was
Can you
very
imagine the
quick.
insurance liability? Boy,
And then Brendan Shanley, of course, he's like the mastermind
Shanley,
behind
sweetest
coordinating,
person in the world.
teaching others to do proper pyramids. I mean,
Yeah.
for real. Mhm.
Yeah, we have a lot of really good photographs from several years of retreats and conferences, behind the scenes, late at night photographs, really good ones, courtesy of Brendan, because he was always there with his camera.
Mhm.
Ooh, I'm so excited to see those. So this is really interesting. So yes, Lauren Langfit, she definitely started this in Omaha.
I'm glad you confirmed that had always just sort of been a suspicion of mine, that it started with her, and I was used apparently as this like unwitting agent out of carnage for so I hope I did the
was there
job,
in
Lauren.
Omaha. I was there in Omaha, so
Okay.
I do remember that. And I didn't know you bridged the gap. So if you did not go and she did not go, then we would not be doing human pyramids today.
Yeah, maybe not.
Did it again. Yeah.
I don't, you love me for it or hate me for it, I guess.
So thank you, Seth, for continuing the tradition.
And man, those retreats, I know those retreats were they were really special. The best way I can describe them, and they were like a cross between a design conference and a political convention. We were passionate at those.
Mhm.
Maybe even with a little, with a side order of like evangelical revival meeting thrown in.
Yes.
They were a sight to behold, and absolutely a wonder and such a privilege to experience.
Well said.
Mhm.
Well put. That was, it's always been tough to put words to that feeling, and that was very well put. I mean, wouldn't know how else to describe that. Because there was that kind of high that you got, after leaving.
Yeah.
Trying to turn to your colleague next to you who didn't have that experience and trying to either explain that to them or almost have this expectation of, oh, you're going to relate to me in this way, right? No. Oh, man. Yeah.
I'm really interested in any memory that you have together at a specific leadership retreat. Let's first of all, how many leadership retreats have you been to together?
I've got a list here. I'm going to count, but I bet Jenny has
Okay.
counted ahead of time because Jenny does her homework more than I do. 1, 2, 3.
I have my answer. Let's see if I'm.
I think I've been to 7,
I've been to
6, maybe
8.
6.
Yeah,
Okay.
8.
It doesn't
But
surprise me
then,
that you've been more than I
but
was,
I think
Jenny.
6 for you and me, because then the last 2 were when I did the council chair work.
Okay. Were
So it
you
would
at
have been
Chattanooga? Which was your first,
no
Jenny?
Minneapolis.
Oh, that's right. You said that earlier. Okay.
Everyone thinks I was at Chattanooga though. They actually didn't believe me
Just
when
own
I
it.
told them. They were like, "You were there last year." I said, "No, I was not." I was not, but
Huh.
I was like, "I'll take it." Okay, I was there. I just started saying I think I did start saying I was there because
It's a
everyone
good
thought I was
retreat.
there.
That's where I became really close with a dear friend, Jenny, of ours, with our friend Brent Stickles.
Oh yeah.
Was
Yeah.
was at the Chattanooga retreat. But let's see, things with us together, Jenny. The moment that stands out sharpest in my mind, if for no other reason than because there's a photograph of it, is, and it might not have even been at a retreat. I can't remember where it was. You might remember where it was, where we were at a Denny's late at night, like 2, 3 in the morning. And we were sort of a ruckus crew. Jacksonville was there, so of course you're guaranteed that it's going to be a ruckus crew. And Jenny, you somehow got into an arm wrestling match.
We were waiting for our food. It was like
Is that
hours
what?
upon hours, and we were kind of bored.
Tell a
And
story.
I remember we were bored. There was about 20 of us, I swear, at this table. I have the photo of the long table.
Yeah.
And Brendan was walking around bringing us coffee because like like he was like serving us coffee and he was taking photos. And so David and I just had been doing this random arm wrestling icebreaker with people at retreats, and we were at the end of the table, and so I said, "David, do you want to arm wrestle while we're waiting?" And yeah, we did. And I don't know, Seth, you tell. Like, it was embarrassing. I was embarrassed because I like I
Okay,
won.
so they were
but
arm
I
wrestling,
won.
and somehow Jenny, because Jenny is such a badass, Jenny like flipped David out of his chair. He's ass over heeled backwards on the floor. The chair is laying upside down. And Jenny, the photo that I remember is Jenny sitting there doing this, like embarrassed that your biceps of power had so much impact. It's
The
those
photo
curls.
is priceless. It is
The photo is
Brendan
priceless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brendan caught that snapshot, and it was like he's like smiling, flying back, and I'm just like, oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh. I was like, I did not anticipate that. But I was like, okay, I guess I am that strong.
You are.
Oh,
Because
that
Jenny
was
is like a serious badass.
well, thank you.
So yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
I remember finding the $1 million mirror in that Salt Lake. You get that. There's a mirror that was worth $1 million, they said. So Seth and I went to go find it, and we took a selfie in front of it. It was in
Right.
this room. I don't even know if it was true, but I could guess it would be because it was a very expensive place we were at.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
remember that photo vividly. A lot of it is
Me
related
too.
to pictures too.
Yeah. I wasn't all that impressed. $1 million for this thing?
We're like, there it is. We found it. I know.
I was impressed that we found it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in the hunt for that for a little bit.
We were in the
Was
hunt
it
for that.
labeled? Was
Yeah.
it clearly labeled? Like
No.
this mirror?
No,
or
we had
something?
asked a
Oh.
bunch of people that work there. We were asking the people that work there, like, where is this thing? We heard there's $1 million
Yeah.
mirror. Can you show us? Someone finally
you
told
show
us where
us?
it was. I don't know if they thought we were gonna do
They
something
probably
to it.
Yeah, they probably thought we wanted to steal it or something like that.
I think about too, even
Ruffians.
just like Seth, some things that stand out too is our like the portfolio work that we one-on-one, like before the one-on-one for AIG in Minnesota, and
Yeah, the
like
student portfolio review.
doing that with you and like spending
Mhm.
time with you and the students and
Yeah.
that was, and then design camp for AIG in Minnesota as well. Certainly like seeing Chip kids sing karaoke, Paul Mendoza, traveled there, also
Yeah.
did amazing karaoke,
Getting to
sitting
hang
around
out
the
with Doyle the
campfire.
Young for a weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
In the middle
Oh my
of,
gosh, Jen, campfires. Yeah.
yes, like those moments. Yeah, and I remember the GAIN conferences, I will say most of the presenters
Mm.
had like super shitty presentation decks because they were non-designers. So and Seth and I would sit in the front row. We were always in the front
Yeah, we're always
row.
the front rowers.
That was our thing where either Seth or I would save each other a seat. We'd be up front,
Yeah.
like the biggest nerds,
Yeah.
taking it
Yeah.
all
I mean,
in.
I remember, just always having uh not just a sort of a trusted friend, Jenny, in you, but I always knew that you were going to be as passionate about the promise of community building with AIGA as I was going to be. Um,
Mhm.
I've got a really good friend of mine who's not a designer, and a long time ago, once we were in a group, and said something about AIGA, and someone else asked, "What's AIGA?" And my friend was like, "Ugh, AIGA. It's like student council for designers." And he was like, he's right. It's like, oh my gosh, like these are the people who are passionate about making a difference. They're passionate about building their community. They're passionate about representing others. They're passionate about showing up. Uh, and one of the things that I just always loved about working, Jenny, with you, and of course still do, is that y- you're are we're both serious about that. Not in an unfun way, but to me, AIGA isn't just about getting some events together. To me, it's about um, making something that will outlast you. Uh, it's about bringing people together in a way that makes them choose to. That's another. I'm now. I've at IB. I've become I manage people at IBM, something I never thought I would do in my career, and learning some critical aspects of leadership, and even specifically people leadership, um, was something that I think my AIGA service uh, really, really left in me. In that, um, you had to learn as a leader in AIGA, you had to learn how to lead in a way that inspires others to choose to follow you. It was a volunteer-based thing, right? So, okay, well, we've got to get these people together, and we've got to get them oriented in the same direction, and showing up together at planning something, and pulling it off, and then figuring out how to do it. Like that doesn't happen in a volunteer organization if it's not being led well. And to this day, I view my leadership in a corporation much in the same way that I strive to treat my employees as if they're volunteering, as if they are choosing every day to stay working on my team as opposed to someone else's team, or as opposed to at another company. And so learning how to get people motivated who are volunteers is, in my experience, a great way to learn how to lead teams in a business.
That is pretty much leadership in a single sentence. I mean, you've pretty much encapsulated that. And what's great about you two is that you were in the front row. cheering us on, right? It's not like you were trying to get whatever you want out of it, but you were definitely making sure that everybody who was at the leadership retreat, wherever they were, or whoever was on stage, you were cheering them on, making sure that everyone got the same experience. Really appreciate that. And you've both contributed to many communities, not just Minnesota, but, national, and of course our leadership community. You're well known. I mean, I remember seeing you two always walking together wherever we go. Yeah. And always feels like home when you know that you're at a leadership retreat or even a conference and see Seth and Jenny there. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for just not only bringing all the leadership lessons that you've learned from AIGA to IBM and sort of showing us the way. Watching your career grow is so inspirational to me because I feel like, okay, I don't have to be stuck in one place. I can also follow what they're doing. So just want to say thank you.
Yes. Here.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Here.
Talk to General Motors. Would you drive around multiple cars? I'm excited.
Gosh.
Well, thank you so much again. Really appreciate the time. It was great to reminisce and
I
talk
agree.
about all this stuff. And I'll just have to find that photo of us all three sitting on the bed. Okay, I'll tell you exactly what the story was.
Yes.
Okay.
This is before I hurt myself. Do you guys remember Denver?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
We were in the field.
I wasn't in
room.
Denver.
Okay, no, then that's
I
not
was.
Denver. That must
Okay.
that
Philly?
must have been
Grand Rapids?
Wasn't at
That
Philly
must have
either.
been Grand Rapids. That must have been Grand Rapids.
I was there.
I was there. Okay.
Both
So
we
it was
were
Grand
there.
Rapids, you think?
It was Grand Rapids. So I
Okay.
remember sitting on this bed. You two were sitting up against the headboard, and I came down and sat down and took a photo with you three and then of you two. And we were just watching them assemble a pyramid. And and you're smiling, just soaking it in. That's all that moment was just amid the chaos and yelling and figuring out who goes on top. We were just like, you were both smiling and just enjoying yourself. It was a moment of zen.
Yeah.
In this
Well, and
one
probably
room.
also kind of endearingly witness what we had created. That look at what's happening years later, without us lifting a finger to make it so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like those baby pyramids grew up to be teenage pyramids. Look at them.
The diagram.
I love
Teenage
that.
pyramids. The
I
diagram
love that.
works.
Diagram.
Yeah.
I would love to see the picture. I love
Cannot wait to see that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Thank
great.
you for sharing that memory.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And really, thank you for inviting us to speak because I'm just remarkably impressed about what humans can accomplish on such lack of sleep as well. Like, I don't know about y'all, but like all the work that we did,
Man.
volunteering above and beyond our day jobs, and that proof is like evident, like you said, in these memories, in these unbreakable bonds that we've formed. My ride or die, Seth, I love you. Like, I
Love you
mean,
too.
and the stories that are being shared on this podcast because of you all putting this together to share the space for us to share memories is priceless, and like it's remarkable. So I appreciate this greatly.
I agree, Rachel. What a gift you're giving. You're giving everyone. Rachel and Eric, thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
All right.
Appreciate it. Love you.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Cheers and Tears will be back next time with more design leadership tales retold.
Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast with your creative community, design leaders, and friends.
Cheers and Tears Design Leadership Tales Were Told is a production of Chapter 2 and hosted by us, Rachel Elnar and Eric Cargill. This episode was produced and edited by Rachel Elnar. Podcast graphics by Eric Cargill. Animation by Verso Design and Megatoe Design.
The theme music track is Loose Ends by Silver Ships Plastic Oceans. Follow Cheers and Tears on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube podcasts, or wherever you get your audio and video podcasts. Subscribe to our email list at cheersandtears.com so you don't miss an episode.